I was teasing it a little bit in the last segment with Sean Merriman, but we were at the Titans-Texans game. I took my 2 oldest boys and my nephew, and that's one of the most remarkable comebacks I have ever seen. If you're a Houston Texans fan, the Titans go down the field, score with 4 seconds left, kick the extra point, and then you had that moment where the coin flip happens, and Deshaun Watson had called tails, and it landed on heads, and there's a little bit of a video reaction of him like, we're done now, because the Titans are going to get the ball. The defense of the Texans gave up over 600 yards. And how about that play call for the Titans to win in overtime? From the 5, you put Derrick Henry in the Wildcat, and you theoretically, he's going to run it. Now, he's thrown out of that a couple of times. He threw, if some of you may remember, in a pretty memorable situation against the Baltimore Ravens. He hit Corey Davis on a touchdown pass there. But Derrick Henry was just dominant. 94-yard rushing touchdown, over 200 yards rushing. And he scores on that Wildcat formation to win the game in overtime. And effectively in the Houston Texans season at 1-5 was a wildly entertaining game. Just absolutely exhilarating game. And for people out there who haven't been to a sporting event since this COVID shutdown universe has existed, I've now been to 2. I took my kids. We went Tuesday to the Titans-Bills game here in Nashville. And then Sunday we went again to the Texans game. I think there were 10,000 fans announced for the Titans game, 8,000 for the Tuesday night game. My kids and my nephew, they're like, this is better than normal because there's no crowd around you. The concession stands, there's no line. If you're a kid, and I had 3 kids, there's nobody blocking your view. I'm going to go, I'm going to go pretty much to every game this year, and I kind of think the limited amount of seats there is kind of awesome. In all honesty, it's not a bad environment. It's not a bad vibe at all. I'm really pretty much enjoying it. So, huge win for the Titans over the Texans. Now we've got the monster game coming up against the Steelers, the 2 undefeated teams in the AFC going with the rescheduled game after the Titans had the COVID-related issues. So that, we've been talking about the NFL all throughout this first hour. The other big takeaway, and we got Joel Klatt coming in the second hour with us, so we'll be talking a lot of college football with him as our guest. But the other big takeaway, in addition to all the NFL stories that we've talked about in this first hour, Alabama and Clemson in college football, I feel like went ahead and basically stamped their ticket for the college football playoff. Alabama took complete control in the second half against Georgia, scored the final 20 minutes of that game, scored the final 20 points of that game, 24, 3 right before the half when Bama kicked a 52-yard field goal. And you knew things might be going well with Alabama when they're actually banging through a 52-yard field goal. And then scored the 21 unanswered in the second half and shut out Georgia 21-0. For that to be a 24-point run for Alabama against that vaunted Georgia defense was just, I think a sign of how good they are, the Crimson Tide. And I feel the same way about Clemson putting 73 on Georgia Tech. I just don't think there's any doubt at all that both of those teams are going to be in the college football playoff. Now, we got the Big Ten returning, so we will follow that to see what exactly Ohio State looks like. And we'll talk about that with Joel Klatt, our college football insider and the lead analyst for Fox College Football when we get back in the second hour. But, man, what an unbelievable performance from both Alabama and Clemson. Pretty outstanding.